Welcome to East West Horizon. This is Sylvia Tian. The U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday, September 21st, advanced a legislation by a vote of 229 to 203, overhauling Congress' certification process for presidential elections. As Democrats hope to prevent the kind of chaos that ensued on January 6, 2021, when rioters tried to subvert Joe Biden's victory.
The yeas are 229. The nays are 203. The bill is passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. The bill is passed.
The current process, which is laid out in the 1887 Electoral Count Act, came under scrutiny after hundreds of supporters of Republican then President Donald Trump stormed the Capitol in a deadly attempt to stop the certification of Democrat Biden as the new president. The violence occurred after Trump claimed that he only lost the election due to rampant fraud. In addition, 139 House Republicans and 8 Senate Republicans voted to challenge the result in some key states. Lawmakers in both parties acknowledge the vague law needs to be updated, but the House bill faced strong opposition from House Republicans, who argued this bill goes too far. The Senate is considering its own legislation to reform the Electoral Count Act, with a panel set to debate and possibly modify its version on Tuesday. That measure has 10 Republican co-sponsors and 10 Democratic co-sponsors, which suggests it will have enough support to pass in that chamber. Though the House and Senate versions of the bill have similarities, there are differences between them that could need to be resolved before it is sent to Biden for his signature. At the same time, the major character in the last presidential election is the former President Donald Trump. He and his family are suffering from being an opposition force so far. Donald Trump, his family business, and 3 of his adult children were sued on September 21st by New York's Attorney General, who accused them of overvaluing the former U.S. president's assets and net worth through a decade of lies to banks and insurers. Attorney General Letitia James filed her civil lawsuit in a New York State court in Manhattan, accusing the Trump Organization of numerous acts of fraud and misrepresentation in preparing financial statements from 2011 to 2021. She also said Trump, who has long used his net worth to burnish his image and fame as a successful businessman and politician, inflated his wealth by billions of dollars to help his company obtain favorable financial terms on transactions, including lower interest rate and cheaper insurance coverage. The 214-page complaint also named Trump's adult children, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Ivanka Trump, as defendants, as well as longtime company executives, including former Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg. Davis Reese, a professor of law at Brooklyn Law School in New York, who has served as an expert in cases involving real estate finance, described the complaint as solid. It is really kind of solidly argued based on lots of paper documents that are kind of hard to argue with on their face. A lot of them come from the Trump Organization or their business partners, so its factual basis is solid, he told Reuters. Trump, in a statement posted on Truth Social, called the lawsuit another witch hunt by a racist attorney general who was pursuing the case for political gain. James is black and running for re-election in November. Trump has not announced whether he will run for president in 2024, but will likely be a Republican forerunner. Analysts said all of the parties in this proceeding are political parties. The president continues to be a politician. The attorney general is a politician. I'm not saying there isn't a legal basis for what the attorney general has done here. There probably is a legal basis for it, but it's also true that politicians in a position like the Attorney General's position get to choose their battles, and some battles are battles that they prefer to choose rather than others. So, to that extent, is there some politics involved? Sure, there's probably some politics involved. James said her office rejected settlement offers from the defendants, but our doors are always open for negotiations. The analyst said, as we all know, Trump Sr. is very litigious and that strategy has worked for him in many contests, not least of which is that it really allows him to kick the can down the road on a lot of issues. And he's been very effective at pushing final outcomes in his legal battles years down the road. And maybe that's a good enough strategy for him. The other possibility, even though he doesn't say this on Twitter, is he may settle. And the Trump Foundation lawsuit is an example of where he really settled most of the issues. His children settled all the issues that affected them. And so down the road, 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half, he may come to the conclusion that it may be beneficial for him to settle. The AG didn't accept his earlier settlement proposals, but that could change as each party kind of get a little bit better sense of how the litigation plays out over time.
And now the unprecedented weaponization of the Justice Department and the FBI to break into and raid the home of a former president of the United States. And the people behind these savage witch hunts have no shame, no morals, no conscience, and absolutely no respect for the citizens of our country.
On the other hand, the U.S. Justice Department can resume reviewing classified records seized by the FBI from former President Donald Trump's Florida home, pending appeal. A federal appellate court ruled on Wednesday, giving a boost to the criminal investigation into whether the records were mishandled or compromised. The Atlantic-based 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals granted a request by federal prosecutors to block U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon's stay, barring them from using the classified documents in their probe until an independent arbiter called a special master vets the material to weed out any that could be deemed privileged and withheld from investigators. The appeals court also said it would agree to reverse a portion of the lower court's order that required the government to hand over records with classification markings for the special master's review. We decide only the traditional equitable considerations, including whether the United States has shown a substantial likelihood of prevailing on the merits, the harm each party might suffer from a stay, and where the public interest lies, the appeals court said. The Democratic Party accused the Republican Party of undermining the American democratic system, while the Republican Party accused the Democratic Party of electoral fraud and subverting the public's trust in the democratic system. In Trump's rallies, you can often see scenes of enthusiastic support from a large number of conservatives, while Democrats are more likely to use existing political resources to fight opponents in Congress, courts, and government agencies. Whoever is closer to the grassroots and who is subverting democracy is a question. Before the midterm elections, you can really analyze what is happening in the two parties through the media lens. Well, thank you for being with us. You can follow and subscribe to the Rhythm TV channel and get more exciting contents. I'll see you on the next show.